good. That's actually really good. Oh, that's nice too. That is nice too. We're getting set up. Wasn't sure I was going to remember how I even did this. How I went live on TikTok for Stay at Home with Ken. Hello, Patrick Prisco. Hello, JRJ. Hello, PGJWFG. PGJWFG, I believe, says they have a picture of Han Solo there. Excuse me. But I don't think that's true. I still think they have that. Sorry, guys. My nose had a cold this weekend. Had a bit of a cold this weekend. And haven't had a cold in a long, long time. And still have some congestion. Today I was standing up and I had all of a sudden the pressure in my ears adjusted and I heard this noise that was clarity for the first time in like 4 days coming through my ears. And I went, wow, that's what it would be like to hear. But never fear, nose is plugged again and nose is plugged again and ears are plugged. Okay, well, he says it's Bob Ross's head hair with Han Solo's face drawn the Millennium Falcon. Well, I appreciate the clarification. However, if you're going to throw Bob Ross's head hair and put Han Solo's face in it, you got to know not many people are going to notice that it's Han Solo's face. Because Bob Ross's head and hair with a paintbrush is going to have people thinking it is Bob Ross probably 99 times out of 100. But it's interesting, we're talking about Han Solo and the Millennium Falcon. Excuse me. Because I watched not one, not two, not three, but 4 Star Wars movies. I don't know, should I jump ahead? Should I jump ahead before doing my introduction? Yes, maybe I will. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. Maybe I won't. Maybe I will. As many of you know that have been watching my show, I got 2 little ones. And it's hard for me to go ahead and finish my story without doing my intro. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try and stay focused. I got 2 little ones that are upstairs sleeping that have allowed me a moment to hop on and go live for the first time in like 4 or 5 days. And my little ones love watching either Sesame Street or Miss Rachel. And as a 55-year-old man who was in 4th grade in 1977 when the original Star Wars came out, which was, let me tell you, prime time viewing audience for that movie. And as I've said before, I had a friend who went to the theater and watched Star Wars 12 times. I remember his name was Chris. He's got red hair. Don't feel like saying his last name, but I could. But anyway, he went and saw Star Wars 12 times at the theater when we were in 4th grade. 12. That's dedication. It's also lack of VCR or cable or every other thing, streaming services, everything else that we have nowadays that stops people from going to the theater 12 times to watch a movie. However, again, as I was saying, I have 2 little ones. I have a she's probably like 15 months old now, beautiful girl named Eve, and will be 3 years at the end of April, son, and their preferred viewing pleasure is either Sesame Street or Elmo or Miss Rachel. And the little one likes Frozen from time to time, but they rarely, and I mean rarely, allow me the opportunity to watch anything but those. So sometime this weekend, my wife was sick. I wasn't feeling that well. My little one was kind of feeling under the weather as well. And I decided to pop on something different. And I thought it was time to expose my little ones to all the beauty that is the Star Wars movies. So I started from the beginning, popped on A New Hope, although I don't think it was called A New Hope when I went to when I was in fourth grade. It was just Star Wars, and anyway, kind of got hooked. Babies, I don't think cared. I tried to show my older one, who again older, he's just over 2.5. Darth Vader, and I told him how Darth Vader's probably one of the best bad guys of all time in history and in movie history. And I remember being a little kid watching him and thinking he was so scary, and the James Earl Jones voice and the breathing, and I think he was played by an actor that was like 6'10" or something like that, and just thought he was an awesome bad guy, and enjoyed watching the first one, and rolled into Empire Strikes Back, which I've heard a lot of people say might be the best Star Wars movie of all time, and it is a good one. We rolled into Return of the Jedi, which was a pretty solid movie, although a little cute and fuzzy, with the Ewoks and their spears and their little clubs that they'd hit the stormtroopers on the heads with. Yeah, they look like koala bears fighting stormtroopers, and it seemed kind of wrong because the stormtroopers through most of the, my childhood were pretty tough and pretty scary. Hello, Tracy from Indiana. Were pretty tough and pretty scary to see. So to see Ewoks taking them down with these little clubs, I don't know. But anyway, then rolled into A Force Awakens, which I'd seen at the theater. I'm shocked to hear that, or to realize this weekend that it came out in 2015, which is 9 years ago already. And I talk about it a lot, how quickly time flies, but it does fly quickly. So that was 9 years ago. And what stands out for that movie, it was kind of a return to the feeling of the original Star Wars movies, with them actually on planets and not digital creation, and all, they could get wet and they could get dirty and they could be in the sand, and they could, versus those few, I forget which ones they are, they call them the first three of the movies. They were all computer-generated backdrops, and I don't know, I thought kind of silly. And PGJWFG's agreeing with me. But anyway, I did want to touch on one thing as I watched The Force Awakens. Although I loved Han Solo coming back. I loved it. And he was as funny as ever and as charming as ever. Older, but amazing, because, that was 30... almost 40 years after the original came out. And again, I was in fourth grade when the original came out, so I probably looked a little older than I did then too. But I loved his character. The one thing I noticed is the Force Awakens was just kind of the same story with different characters. And I realized that as I watched all those later Star Wars movies, they kind of, they did the father-son thing and the struggling with the dark side thing. And it was almost like they took the same exact script from the first three movies and said, hey, so one of the biggest grossing movies of all time, why don't we just freshen up the script a little bit, put in different characters, and looking for the secret plans, the huge laser that can blow up, whole planets and what have you. But anyway, I must say I did still enjoy A Force Awakens this weekend, watching it again and watching 4 Star Wars movies in a row, and it did remind me how great those movies are. Despite the Ewoks, and despite Darth Vader losing so much of his scariness when his helmet came off, and when he kind of became mishy-mashy and started caring for Luke a little bit in the third one, kind of wish he would have stayed a bad guy. Kind of wish he would have stayed a bad guy and let the Emperor blast Luke Skywalker to oblivion, instead of picking up the Emperor and throwing him down something. I do want to talk a little more about Star Wars before I get into my introduction. Uh, Luke Skywalker, he's a Jedi at the last one, and he's supposed to be super powerful and super badass, and I would call it the equivalent of Darth Vader, or at least nearly as powerful. But Darth Vader could scare a whole army of people by giving them a mean look. Luke, you know, fought this big thing in Jabba the Hutt. For those that are watching, I'm going into too much detail, but it's my show, and I'm going to go into too much detail right now. But for those that have watched Return of the Jedi, Luke falls in a pit, and he's battling this huge monster that Jabba the Hutt owns to eat his prisoners. And in order to fight this huge monster, Luke takes a bone and sticks it in his mouth. And the way he finally defeats this huge monster, which may or may not have been called a rancor, is he threw a rock and it hit a button and a door fell on this giant rancor and the rancor died. I just don't see Darth Vader, again, the equivalent power-ish, roughly, to Luke at this time. I don't see Darth Vader picking up a rock and throwing it at a button on a door, or using a bone to pry open a rancor's mouth. Does that make any sense to you? I just think Darth Vader would have gone, given that rancor a deep breath, and done one of these, and the rancor would have died or something. So it was kind of weird that way. And again, in Return of the Jedi, which I struggle with a little bit for a guy that was scared of Darth Vader growing up. And again, I will compare Luke in the third show's power to Darth Vader's. There's a scene where they're riding these things through this forest, and Luke's kind of bumping the other stormtrooper type guy who's riding a similar thing through the forest. And I just don't see Darth Vader battling a dude one-on-one through the trees, kind of bumping him. I think he would have cast some dark force or, spell on the dude, and the guy would have dropped dead. So, I know it's just a movie, but those were the couple things I picked up. So, good afternoon. It is good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you. My name is Ken Tracy, and this is Coffee with Ken. I apologize to any first-time watcher for my very long Star Wars-themed introduction to my show, but again, this is Coffee with Ken. It is Wednesday. I think it might be the 7th of February. It is 12:02 my time. I'm coming at you from Naperville, Illinois, a town of about 150,000 people, about 35 miles west of Chicago. Cindy LV, thank you so much for following the live creator. I so appreciate when people follow me for my lives. I have a lot of fun going live. And again, this show is Coffee with Ken, although I might be calling it Stay at Home with Ken today. But it started almost 5 years ago now, when I was struggling in a lot of ways with life. And like we all do, I think we all struggle in a lot of ways. But I struggled with anxiety and stress and depression and substance abuse. I used to drink and smoke a lot. And realized that talking about my stuff made me feel better. And one day, almost 5 years ago now, I was a realtor at the time. So maybe I thought a lot of people would watch me on social media and connect with me and want to use me as a realtor because they liked the Coffee with Ken that they see in front of you, or that you see in front of you. And it worked. And again, I think I did grow my business, but I'm no longer a realtor now. And here I am almost 5 years ago, aspiring to do it full time and to create content full time and to share stories full time, whether it be about Star Wars or drinking too much or smoking too much pot or anxiety or stress or depression or worry or financial ups and downs or relationship struggles. Because again, I realized talking about my stuff always made me feel a little better, whether I was doing it to a buddy, whether I was doing it to my iPhone, or whether I was doing it to a therapist. But I'll tell you what, for anyone out there that's struggling with some stuff, it is good to go see a therapist. And I still see a therapist fairly regularly because a lot of times it just feels really good to get stuff off your chest and be able to share. Let's go over here. Be able to just get stuff off your chest and share your experiences and share your hurts to an impartial person. So if anybody out there is hurting or struggling at all, I'd recommend going to talk to somebody, because I think a lot of times, especially men, are taught to keep it in, or to grin and bear it, or to soldier on. And, I think mental health issues probably are much higher in men because of that. And I'm hoping, got a little foot cramp. Got a little foot cramp there. Kind of hurt. Sometimes those can be very painful. But anyway, for those that have been watching my show for a while, I'm going to actually take off my slipper and give it a little rub, hoping it doesn't cramp up. Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night with a cramp or a muscle spasm or whatever they call it in your thigh or your foot? And I mean, it feels like you got to go to the hospital. It can be extremely painful. I've heard that's caused from low potassium. I'm not sure if it's true or not. Either way, they can be extremely painful. I was worried I was going to get one in front of you right now on live camera. That would have been very embarrassing. Very embarrassing. Let me crisscross my legs again. For those that have been watching a while, it's a children's book, Jamberry. Kind of a cute little book we like reading to our children. But for now, I'm using it as a cover for my coffee. For those that have been watching a while, you know that this isn't just a show about me talking and sharing some experiences in life's ups and downs, or stories about Star Wars, or stories about anxiety, or stories about substance abuse. I'm going to take out both slippers. Sitting by this fire, I was getting a little warm. For those that have been watching a while, you know. Oh, I hope that you know. It's also a show about me sharing my love of coffee. With that in mind, I have a nice hot cup of coffee that's been sitting here for an extended introduction. So I'm hoping it's still hot. And my other hope is that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you got a nice hot cup of coffee, maybe a cup of water, a beverage of your choice. And you're half as excited to take your first sip as I am. Cheers to us. Oh, it's a Starbucks. No, it's not. It's the 8 o'clock hazelnut. And it's tasty. It's not quite as hot as I would like. I brewed it about an hour ago. Had a couple of cups. For those just tuning in, my name's Ken Tracy, and this show is called Stay at Home with Ken. It's a spinoff of my Coffee with Ken show that I've been doing for about 5 years. I call it Stay at Home because I'm not very creative. And after 10 years being a stockbroker, and 17 years being a realtor, and 7 months being a stock clerk at a super target here in Naperville, Illinois, I stay at home with my children. I have 2 beautiful babies, a just about 3-year-old son named Augie and a little girl named Eve who's just over 1. I put them to bed at about 11:30, 11:45 most days. And more often than not, I'll hop on and go live and talk about life or experiences or ups and downs or feelings or emotions or coffee or dogs or life or relationships or weather. It's kind of a chilly, overcast day. Kind of typical to what we've been having the last several weeks. Although Although, and this will be really exciting for you guys, I mentioned earlier I had a bit of a cold this weekend. I tend to be in denial. When I'm sick, I try my best to not feel sick and not act sick and soldier on it, like I was saying, that you shouldn't do, but I do. And try not to let it affect my life as little as possible. And for early February, we had a couple really nice days this weekend. We had some days that were in the mid 40s and the sun was shining and people were out walking their dogs in mass numbers. Hello from Ravenswood. People were out walking their dogs and out and about, and people would be cleaning their cars, and we'd say, "Hey, what a glorious day!" And again, that's what's neat about living in a place that gets cold weather and kind of crappy weather, to be honest with you, and winter and hot summers and cold winters. Is those first few days where it's 50 degrees and sunny, you think it's the most glorious day of them all. And again, in a few months, we're going to look back on that day as kind of cold and what have you. But the world comes to life, and the bears come out of their caves, and they wash their cars, and they walk their dogs, and they ride their bikes. And in my case, I broke out my Suzuki Bergman 400 scooter and took it out for a couple shorter rides and some shorter rides, and went to Starbucks a couple times, and just felt so good. Again, I like a Suzuki Bergman 400. For anybody new watching, is you'd probably see it and you'd think it's probably a motorcycle because it's big, might weigh almost 500 pounds, and it can go probably 90 miles an hour, although I've never had it that fast. But I can get around town and then some. It's highway legal, although I've never been on the highway with it because I'm kind of a scaredy cat. But it's great for getting around town or running to the store, and it just felt so good getting out there and riding a bit this weekend and getting out there a few times. Again, I was kind of fighting a cold, and the fresh air and the sunshine just felt so therapeutic for me. Really appreciated the nice weather. And Nicholas is saying right there, you appreciate when you get the warm weather. You certainly do. And again, I'm not a fan of the big heat in the summer, although I live in a neighborhood with a neighborhood pool that's, just about a block away. Super convenient. And I'll tell you what, on a hot, humid summer day, it is nice having a swimming pool down the way, and it does make you appreciate the nice hot summer weather. So, hello, Jer Bear. Jer Bear's a name from the past. Lori Haley, thank you for joining. And Harry Swade, I don't know what you're talking about. But we get a nice mix. We get some people saying some strange things, but I guess that's the nature of social media. You get all sorts of different people hopping on with different perspectives and different opinions and different thoughts. And I don't know, wherever he went, just had a different opinion and a different thought. More power to him. He should create his own TikTok page and do his own videos. Hello, Alfred Johnston. Thank you so much for joining. Yes, I've been following a while. I love your talks. Well, thank you, Chair Bear. Yeah, your name sounded familiar. I was going live at 8 o'clock every day, again, till probably 3 months ago. And that was fun, and I built up a nice audience, and the same people were tuning in every day, and my audience was growing pretty quickly. But as I often say, life gets in the way. And my wife got a job offer that she was super excited about. And I remember before she took it, I said, hey, if I was making $250,000 doing content creation a year, would you still want this job? And she, without a hesitation, said yes. So more power to her. She's excited about the job. She's doing great. And it has me getting to spend a little bonus time with my two little babies. I do have 4 children, 7 if you count my stepkids. 2 older girls from my first marriage, and who are 17 and 14, and are seniors and freshmen in high school. And I can't believe it's my older one's second semester senior year. She sent me a picture of herself the other day in class holding a pig's heart. And I go, ooh, oh my gosh, what class is that for? And she goes, I don't know, honors anatomy or something like that. And I don't know. I remember back in junior high dissecting a frog, I think, and that was somewhat traumatic for me at the time. She's carrying around a pig's heart. Guess she better get used to it. She's thinking about being, or at least looking into getting into vet school at her college, and I think she'd do great. She's a smart young lady and compassionate and confident and strong and beautiful, and I'm very proud of her and, you know, all my kids. So yeah. Here's to pride for our kids. I got my dog Holly sleeping just a few feet from me. It's kind of nice. For those that have watched before, you know Holly often likes to get in the camera and get her ears rubbed or her head pat or enjoy my live videos as much as I like going live. I don't know how much I really have for you today. Again, it's Wednesday. I had an extended, what I'd call a weekend, because my wife was sick as well as my kids, and it just felt strange. And so she had to take off a couple days of work this weekend where she would have worked, and had a much more crowded house than I'm used to. And it was kind of neat with everybody heading off. The stepkids all went off to school today. And then my wife went off to work and got my babies to sleep. And Holly's sleeping. And just thought I'd hop on and drink some coffee and turn on my fireplace and chat it up with you guys for a little while. And again, I almost thought forgot how to do it. Don't think I've gone live since like last Thursday. I think it's important to stay in touch. I always chop up these videos into TikToks and Reels and YouTube Shorts and spread them all over social media. And that always helps grow my audience. I enjoy going live here. Again, I'd love to do it in a perfect world, have a regular schedule where I did it again at 8 o'clock every morning to build up an audience and build up some regulars. To make it as interactive as possible, because the more people, ask questions, the more random my subject matter can be. Again, I have a viewer watching who has a picture of Han Solo as his profile picture, and sent me off on a 10-minute tangent about the Star Wars movies at the introduction. So again, it's fun when you get some interaction. It's fun when you can build up a nice audience. It's fun when you have some names on like Josh Agrand and Ginny Bruno and Jer Bear that are hopping on. And I so appreciate you guys for watching and sharing part of your Wednesday with me, and maybe sharing a cup of coffee and sharing a few minutes and just kind of following along in my story. It means a lot to me. And again, I have a lot of fun doing it. I don't always have a ton to say. Again, I don't know how much I have for you today, but it's Wednesday. I've had a wonderful few days despite the cold. Hello, Jenny Bruno. Thank you for joining. And I'm excited about my Wednesday. I've been really productive at home today. And again, I'm calling this stay at home with Ken. Because I'm staying at home with my two little babies. At about 9:30, they were both fussing. 9:30 my time, they were both really fussing. And I looked at them and I'm going, hey, are you guys ready for your nap already? And they may or may not have been. But I've tried to put them to bed early. And more often than not, that doesn't go well. Or one will fall asleep, or they'll sleep for half an hour and they'll wake up and be fussing and needing things and what have you. But I fought through it, and we made it till 11:30, fed them their lunch, their traditional lunch, of peanut butter and jelly, which is almost the only thing my older one likes to eat. My younger one will eat anything. Hello, Chris Jackson. Hey, thank you, Chris Jackson. Thank you so much for hopping on. I haven't seen you in a while. But my little one, who's 15 months, will eat almost anything. And whether I'm opening a banana or peeling an orange or opening up a yogurt or whatever, she'll spot me from the other side of the room, and she can walk. She kind of toddles around, and she'll open her mouth and go, and just kind of look at me from across the room, and I'll try and reach out and go, hey, Eve, you got to come closer. And she'll kind of so excited to get whatever I'm about to feed them. She looks like a little bird. She's a sweet little angel. And I always call my older one, Augie, my little nugget of love. And that's what he is. Although he's fussier now than he was when I originally named him my nugget of love. For those that don't know, my older son, Augie, who's coming up on 3, has Down syndrome. And that's been an awesome experience for me. And I remember when I first heard that he might have Down syndrome, how honestly bummed and depressed and worried and scared, and didn't know how I'd handle it as a father, because I didn't ever really had that much experience spending time with kids with Down syndrome, to be honest with you. And he's been a huge blessing in my life. And it's amazing. I don't know. They say love is love, but how much you can love your babies. And I've had 4 now. God bless me with 4 kids. And each time, you're amazed how much that you have more love to give. And it doesn't matter if, whether they have Down syndrome, or I've often looked at, people with other children with special needs and wonder how they handled it and how it was for them being a parent. And now that I have have Augie, I realize you just be a dad and you love him as best, you love him with all your heart, and you do the best you can, and you enjoy the smiles and the tickles, and you cuddle, and you I don't know, treat them just like everybody else. And yeah. So yeah. Hello, music loving mom. Thank you so much for joining. I so appreciate you guys all for hopping on this Wednesday. Again, I don't have a ton for you. But I did want to hop on. Pat, I appreciate you joining as well on this Wednesday afternoon. My coffee's getting tepid. My foot's falling asleep. And I'm feeling good, and I hope you're feeling good as well. I appreciate you guys for joining, following along in my story. That is Coffee with Ken, that is Stay at Home with Ken, that is Thoughts from the Gym, and following along in my adventure and being part of my story. And I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope your week's going well. Hope you're feeling good and you're enjoying the moment and appreciating the sunshine or the rain or the clouds or the wind or the coffee in your hand or the love in your heart or the children that are sleeping up in their rooms, even on those days when those children can be frustrating. Because believe me, I know that they can. I got 2 little babies here, and I think they somehow know how to communicate, and one go one direction and cause one bit of chaos over there, and while I'm trying to fix that chaos, the other one's causing chaos behind me. And I think it couldn't be coincidence or accident that it happens. I know they must have some telepathic way to communicate that, saying, let's get dad. Let's frustrate dad before he puts us down for our nap. But, yeah. So, again, one more sip of coffee. It is Wednesday afternoon. I so appreciate you guys for following along in my story. For joining me today on this live, and again, just for being a part of my little adventure that is life. And I hope you're having a wonderful week, and you're feeling good, and you slept well, and you're feeling content. And yeah, I hope you're feeling good. I hope you're loving yourself. I hope you're forgiving yourself. And As always, I hope to talk to you soon. Bye-bye.